Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in. My name is Linton, and today let's look at, let's continue to look at this prototype. Last time, what we have done was basically populate each of those pickers, with the data that behind the scene. So depending on the selection of the first category, first picker, and we're gonna populate the second picker accordingly, right? So that's what we have done last week, and today we're gonna continue with adding more logic into this form. For example, we want to validate the data. By default, this validate button is disabled. I mean, it's supposed to be disabled, but after it is actually disabled, but it just doesn't have any any effect when we click on it. But it's just like the hover animation is kind of broken. But after we select, for example, the license start date for each for those, and let's consider that the form is now completed. Now we can see this validate button becomes enabled, and then it's gonna actually run some logic to validate user's input if it's valid or not. If, for example, one of the rule for validation here is that the start date must be earlier than end date, right? Right now it is okay. So if we click validate, and it's gonna go to another screen, submit it, and otherwise, let me see if we can refresh it. I'm not sure how to refresh it actually. Reload. So otherwise, it's gonna show an error message. Let's do that. Nice. And pick a date, maybe 4th, September 1st. Now, when we click validate, and we're gonna see this error message, right? So let's see how we are going to implement this, or prototype this. Actually, that should be more accurate way of describing this. And last time, if you still remember, or if you haven't actually checked out last Friday's video, what we did was there are actually two things. First is that we're gonna a few things, not many, not only two things. So this is a object that actually contains all the data that we want to use to populate the two pickers, and everything is connected with this data object. So we use this data to to make those overrides talk to each other. So for example, this category picker, this cat picker, is the picker. This override for the category for the first picker right here. Whenever it's changed, and we're gonna change this data, and in turn, the change is gonna be reflected somewhere here. Actually, so after we change this draft category, and then after we click done button, and we're gonna change this data dot category line number 58, and after that, basically reacting to this change. So this product picker, which populates the data for the second picker, and it's gonna choose the data according to what's available in this data dot category, right? So that's how we populate the second picker according to user's selection in the first picker. So that's basically the idea is that we use this data object to connect stuff on the canvas, and the same thing actually for the state picker. it is actually the same idea, but I wanted to do it slightly differently actually. Um, like for example, like for this picker, we have this done button and cancel button or whatever. But for maybe for the date picker, we're gonna do it slightly differently. Instead of having this done button, we want to be able to commit the change after just right after the user select the date in the date picker. So first of all, of course, we need to add the date picker. So we're gonna go to this insert, and I think it's like this. Call date. Yeah, I think this is the package. That's about the same. The only package that I found that we can use as a date picker. So modern calendar by Richard, and so I've already installed it, so I'm gonna see this modern calendar. And one thing that I wanted to show you actually here is the kind of props that this component supports. So let's still calendar, modern calendar, and we can see this is from the package, right? So this is a doc, and these are what's important. Are what's important that we can. So these are all the props that we can override with overrides. So the important one is that this value change is something that we're gonna use, right? Okay, let's insert this guy somewhere, and I think it's okay. So we've got this one, and now whenever the user click on this this box, we want to show it as a model, right? So we connect to it, and then make sure that the type of the transition is model, and then that will be good. And let's show that in the preview. Actually, we wanted to show this this one with a scroll. So this one is what we want to preview, and this is the scrolling content right there. Okay, now we click that, and we get this date picker. But now, of course, if we choose anything, it does not dismiss this date picker. Does not return to the original screen, right? How are we gonna do that? Is we're gonna write another override for this date picker, right? Right, this override. And actually, let's go to this override file, and let's say export function. What is the first? First one is a license start date, right? So it's a license start date. To actually see it right there. Let's call it LSD picker, date picker, and that is override. And we are gonna override some props for that date picker. So as I just showed you, this value change. This is the prop that we want to override, which is going to be a function, right? And I think this is gonna be the actual date right here, but we are not gonna worry about that for now. What we want to do is that whenever I click on it, whenever I choose something in the date picker, and it's gonna dismiss, it's gonna go back to the original screen. So if I click on that, what we are gonna do is like if you still remember, we can use this navigation use nav hook, use navigation hook, which is tremendously useful. And we're gonna I'm gonna show you another usage of this one a bit later, but now it's actually exactly the same as what we did last time. Go back, right? So whenever this value change, and we wanted to go back to our original screen. And of course, we need to override this. What is going on? Okay, file app override ISD date picker. Now if we go back to code and see the preview instead over there, so click that and choose anything, it's gonna go back to the original screen. So that's exactly what we wanted, right? And of course, that's not enough. We need to actually save the date, right? Save the date right there. So how are we gonna save it? We're gonna do a data.alsd date. That's kind of repetitive. I think it's just LSD. Yeah, let's just put it there. So, and that's how we actually save it, right? So of course, we want to somehow initialize it right here. I think, yeah, if we use null here, and we're gonna get some errors like this, but it doesn't really matter. The prototype still works. It's just some extra warning or whatever. But let's just ignore that. So now it's actually saved it to the data, and we want to populate this text, right? So similar to this category, we can override that. Let's just write another override. We want to override this text. Whenever this data LSD date changes, we want to populate it with the actual date, not just the text select. So maybe text, and it's not line number 89, and we're gonna actually see the text, and the content of that text is date LSD date, right? Now let's see what's gonna happen. If we choose something, yeah, I keep forgetting this, right? Obviously, we need to select the override for this text. So we're gonna LSD date text. If we go back, see if it actually works now. Oh, that's data, right? Data, and save it. So now, and that is object. So that's if we print out this date, it's an actual object. Let's just print it out to see how it looks like. Log data LSD date, right? And if we check out there, maybe refresh. How come it's not showing up? Okay, initially it's kind of empty, but if we choose this license start date, and what is going on? Doesn't like this. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I'm still sleeping or something. This is not supposed to be in the return statement. So this is supposed to be an object, right? So we want to print it out there. So by default, it's null, right? By default, it's null. But after we choose something there, and it's an object with 3 properties: day, month, and year. Okay, so that's what we wanted. So how we are gonna actually populate this text, right? So we can do it like this way, and we can extract all the properties from that object: year, month, date, and then use that to actually maybe let's do it like that here. month, date. Okay. Is now. Yeah, let's change it to an empty object instead of null, and it'll look a little bit weird initially, but we can always fix that with a conditional. But let's not worry about that for now. Choose something, and then we can see the actual date that we just picked, right? Let's do it again. That's actual date. And similarly, we can do the same, do that for the other 3 dates. But let's see how much time do I have. 15 minutes. Let me just copy some code there. Yeah, actually, let me just copy this. LSD, LED, and EIS, and they're all pretty much the same except that LED, EIS, and over here, LED, EIS, and those are all 3 text. And for the picker, we're gonna do pretty much the same thing. Like, it's a bit repetitive, right? Obviously, you can see it's a bit repetitive, but I guess, like, you know, for the prototyping purpose, it is fine. I mean, as long as the code is understandable, and this is not meant to be kind of code that's running in production, and it's not meant to be the code that we want to kind of maintain for a long time or something. As long as it'll you know, work as what we expected, and it should be good. Like, I mean, in prototyping, I think the key is that we want to move quickly, right? We want to move fast. Like, if we can actually quickly build up something to show up, or to show our idea, and that would be a win for everybody. So now ignore the error here, and I think that should be like kind of a bug of this package, right? But it actually worked well in preview. So let me connect to this guy, and connect this one to this guy, right? And then this override is supposed to be LED, and this is EIS. And again, for the text, we want to choose LED date text, and this is LED ELS date. So all becomes undefined. That's actually a good sign. So now if we choose that, and if we choose this, and all 3 are looking pretty good, right? They're all working. So that's the 3 date pickers. And now we want to do the validation, right? So that's the actual part that we want to. That's kind of a little bit new information about this webinar. So this validation, how are we gonna do it? It's actually the same idea. It's nothing new here in per se, but it's just like, you know, for this button, we want to override its prop. One of this prop is called disabled, I think. Now, write another override validate button maybe, and so I think it's called disabled. Let me check. Yeah, disabled. And yeah, let's just disabled, and we want to enable or disable it according to whether the fact that whether this form is complete or not, right? So how we can do this is, like, again, use the data item. We can put a flag there. Is the form completed? If it is completed, we don't want to disable it, so that's why we put a exclamation mark there. But by default, it is not completed. So it is not completed. Save that. Go back. Yeah, there are a lot of this kind of back and forth. Validate button, right? Now we have this. See, this is disabled. Okay, and but how, like, when do we want to change it to enable, right? So this is basically the idea is that whenever the user make a change to this form, we want to want to test if the form is we want to test if the data is actually all present. If it is, we just enable we want to set the flag, right? So let me actually copy some code there. And where is that? Where is the code? Format date. Yeah, this check for completion, right? Okay, let me copy this code there. So if any of those now actually we this is different because I shouldn't have copied this, but form completed. Category. I used the different variable names in my example, but like, we want to check if everything here is not null. We want to say this is actually completed, and I think we should make it null, make it null, in that we will need to modify this. Okay, let's just make it like that. So that will remove the errors in the prototype. Okay. So whenever the user, for example, click this done button, we check if the form is completed or not. Right? Check form completion. We'll run that function, and this function is gonna, continuously set this data dot form completed flag. If it's gonna check all those 5 fields over there. If every one of them, if none of them are null, and we're gonna say this form is completed, right? So for this cap button done, and I think there should be for the date, for the date picker, like whenever we the user choose something, we want to check for completion. So this is basically all we need. Cat done. Yeah. So that's what we need. Let's try it out. Let's try it out to see if it's actually working. There's something wrong. I think did I? Yeah, I think this one is connected incorrectly. For some reason, it actually the second. Oops. The second picker for some reason connect to the. I don't know why. This picker is cat picker. So this is wrong actually. It's supposed to be product picker. So that's the second picker. And let's try it again. 3D simulation. And yeah, so that's 3D Studio. And I think there is something wrong with that as well. Product name. I don't know why it's not populated. But let's keep doing this. Oh, I think I didn't really implement this done button, but let's pick all the date there, and let's see if this validate button becomes available or not. It's not, I think, because this one is actually we do need to implement this, or yeah, we do need to implement this product done button. Product done, and let's say product, and this draft product, product. Yeah, let's actually ignore the checking, like just ignore this for now, because I'll have to add some more stuff, which is kind of like repetition of the previous content. And let's see, now we are no longer checking this product for completion, for form completion, but let's see if this actually works. If it's not, believe it should work. Yeah, see, it becomes a validate, right? Okay, so this is working. And for the last part is that when we click this validate button, we want to navigate to a new screen. Like, depending on whether the form is complete or not, we want to navigate to different screens. So this is actually kind of new information in this webinar. Is that how are we gonna navigate to different screens inside the code? Like, over here we can just connect, simply connect to a thing, connect to different screens, right? Connect to different frames. But in the code, it's kind of different. How are we gonna do that? Is that first we want to convert the new screen to a design component. So you see here, I actually added a frame around this dialog, and made it a design component. And for this one, for this screen, and this is a design component as well. You see this, the color is purple. It's a design component. So with that, we will be able to actually navigate to those two screens programmatically. So let's try that, right? So if we go to this validate button, I don't think I have time to actually implement the validation logic, but you will be able to do that. I think it's the same idea with this, basically check stuff in this data object. Whether, like, how you want to validate it, it's up to you. But like, let's see this validate button, right? When it's clicked, we want to navigate it. We want to navigate to a new screen. So use navigation, and then this nav, we can navigate to new screen with the desired transition. So let's say we want to navigate to that error message. We want to show it as a dialog. So this is a model, and what's inside is actually the design component that we created over there, and we can import it from there, from the canvas. Remember, we want to import it from the canvas, and then the name invalidate alert is the component name right here. I'll show you in the layers. So it is called invalidate alert, right? So if you go back to the code, so we want to use a component as this way, basically the same way as other React components right there. So we want to do that, and it will navigate to the new screen. So now if you click that, I think I need to save it. And I need to pick something. Okay. Enabled. Okay. Now click that. That's error message, right? In another, like on the other hand, if we want to, for example, we want to go to the other screen, we want to use I don't know, push. I think it's called submitted screen, and we can do so. Need to save it, and we'll need to pick this pickers again. Now validate, you see, this is a different, totally another different kind of transition, and this is actually pretty powerful. This navigation, it also supports custom transition effect as well, so we can customize the transition process, which can be very useful. And also back to the point of like how we want to actually validate it. So we can just add this if validate form, or this is going to be a function, and if it's validated and we want to show this submitted, or else we want to show this error message, right? And over there we can just validate it, validate all the objects, all the fields in the data object at like in a similar way what we do here in this check for completion. So yeah, it's not I didn't really have time to implement the whole thing, but I think that covers all the key ideas. If you have any questions or anything, just put it in the comment. I will wait a little bit if you have questions. Okay, so if you don't have any question, thank you so much for coming. And again, if you want me to demo something here in this webinar, just shoot me an email, and I'll see how it fits, and that should hopefully be useful for other people as well. Okay, thank you. Have a great weekend.